Mr. President, in recent weeks, the American people have learned the shocking story of the barbaric practices that Planned Parenthood uses to terminate life and to harvest innocent human life. In a video released earlier this month that's gone viral, as it should, the Senior Director of Medical Research at Planned Parenthood explained the process by which she harvests aborted body parts to be provided for medical research. I quote her, "We've been very good at getting heart, lung, liver, because we know that, so I'm not going to crush that part. I'm going to basically crush below. I'm going to crush above, and I'm going to see if I can get it all intact." End of quote. Additional videos have been released. I'm told more to come, with Planned Parenthood officials discussing the organ harvesting of fetuses, unborn children, beating hearts, on the sonogram, on the screen, human beings. Despite the stunning impact and the outrage of millions of Americans, Planned Parenthood's response to the release of these videos is blame the messenger or the videographer. But let's not address the practice of harvesting aborted body parts. I'd like to enter into the record a column by Russ Douthat, who writes in the New York Times today, and I urge every senator to read his July 25, 2015 column entitled "Looking Away from Abortion," and I would ask unanimous consent that that article be placed in the record.
Without objection.
Let me share just a couple of excerpts from his piece. Written in the New York Times, Russ Douthat says, quote, "And the problem these videos create for Planned Parenthood isn't just a generalized queasiness at surgery and blood. It's a very specific disgust informed by the reason and experience, the reasoning that notes that it's precisely a fetus's humanity that makes its organs valuable, and the experience of recognizing one's own children on the ultrasound monitor and after as something more than just products of conception or tissue for the knife." For those who defend the role of Planned Parenthood, Douthat writes that reflecting on the content of these videos gets you uncomfortably close, and I quote again, "to that moment when you start pondering the possibility that an institution at the heart of respectable liberal society is dedicated to a practice that deserves to be called barbarism." I'd like to repeat that again. He writes that the barbarity of what has taken place here, the videos of the response of Planned Parenthood, the description of what actually is happening to a child on the way to birth, seen in the ultrasound, hearing the beating of the heart, and then talking about the methods used so that certain parts of that body are not crushed, so that other parts of the body can be harvested for other purposes and sold for money, that this is part of what Planned Parenthood is all about, is just stunning. And Douthat said that must place into, even though people want to ignore that, even though they want to talk about and blame the videographer, and, oh, he took things out of context. How can you take what's said and happened out of context and provide any rationale or justification for what is being done? He said, but surely that is the moment when you start to ponder the possibility that an institution at the heart of respectable liberal society is actually dedicated to a practice that deserves to be called barbarism. That's a hard thing to accept, he said. But as difficult as that is, Dothat says we must acknowledge that what is being discussed in these videos are human beings, that the nice, idealistic medical personnel at Planned Parenthood have spent their careers crushing, evacuating, and carving up that human life for parts to be sold on the market. Mr. President, it's important that this body let Planned Parenthood know that the American people do not support these inhumane practices. Congress should debate this issue. It should vote. It should vote soon. It should not leave here for our August recess until we send a clear message to Planned Parenthood that this is totally unacceptable, that the taxpayer of America will not fund with 1 cent of their tax dollars this barbaric practice provided through an agency that pretends to be offering sound health care advice to pregnant mothers. Every senator should have the opportunity to affirm that life is sacred and a precious gift that must be protected.